Hey guys, Sean here and welcome to the F1 Word. Now it won't have escaped your notice that Sergio Perez has suddenly found himself without a drive for 2021 after Racing Point announced that Sebastian Vettel would be replacing the Mexican when the team becomes Aston Martin next season. That now means that Perez is on the lookout for somewhere to go racing beyond the end of 2020, but what are Checo's options? Well, Alfa Romeo are probably a good shout. That all depends though on what Kimi Raikkonen chooses to do. Every year there seems to be a question mark over the Finn's F1 future, and yet he continues to stay on, so do not rule that out happening again. After all, reports did recently surface claiming that Raikkonen may well be set to sign up for another year with Alfa, and it is expected again according to those same reports that he will inform the team of his decision by the end of September. Now yes, there are 2 seats at that team, but Ferrari have first refusal on that second Alfa seat, and it is starting to look increasingly likely that the Scuderia is set to promote Mick Schumacher to Formula 1 next year. That would obviously be in place of Antonio Giovinazzi, and so if Perez wants to race for Alfa Romeo, long story short, he needs Kimi to move on. Down at Haas, they currently have 2 seats open for 2021 with both Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean out of contract at the end of the year, and team boss Gunther Steiner is playing it pretty cool when discussing the team's options, saying there is no rush for any decision, and they are looking at the long term rather than the short term. Steiner has also been clear that all options, including replacing both current drivers, are on the table. It has to be said that reports in Italy this week have claimed that talks between Haas and Perez are ongoing and are said to be at a good point. So at the very least, Haas are interested in Sergio Perez, but with the likes of Nico Hülkenberg available, Checo to Haas is not a given. And to paraphrase Gunther Steiner, the market right now is definitely a buyer's market, so they have plenty of room for negotiation when it comes to things like drivers' salary. That said though, Perez does bring sponsorship with him, and any cash injection for a team further down the grid is going to be massively beneficial, especially when you consider the impact the pandemic has had on teams and the major changes to the regulations in 2022. The fact of the matter is, cost cap or not, it is still going to be very expensive. Red Bull have been put forward by some media outlets as a possible destination for the Mexican too, but this is probably the most unlikely of all of those mentioned so far. Christian Horner has been consistent in saying that the team have no plans to replace Alex Albon right now, and it's beginning to feel more and more likely that Albon will be given another year. The rules are staying very consistent, and 2021 is going to be about as transitional a season as you will ever see. So there doesn't seem to be any need to rush any decision on Albon, and as I've said before, at some point, Red Bull have got to back someone as Verstappen's teammate. Plus, as Helmut Marko has repeatedly said, if they had any other driver in that second car, the team would still be P2 in the constructors, such as the dominance of that Mercedes. There is also the fact that Red Bull prefer to promote from within where possible, and so if the team gives someone like Yuki Tsunoda a chance, leaving things as they are for another season gives them the opportunity to assess how he does in Formula 1, and if they feel he does a good job and that Albon isn't performing, they could swap those two around rather than giving a previous driver a second chance. A move to another series is also a possibility. The Mexican has already said that he will not take a sabbatical in 2021 should he find himself without an F1 seat, and will look at other categories for somewhere to go racing. McLaren CEO Zak Brown has already come out and said that the team would be interested in talking to him about racing for the team in IndyCar, and with Checo having previously said that he would like to have a crack at the Indy 500 one day, perhaps reuniting with the group he once raced for in F1 would be a good shout. So they are the possible destinations for Sergio Perez, but where do I think the Mexican will end up in 2021? Well, firstly, I am still pretty confident that he will be racing in Formula 1 next year. Yeah, okay, McLaren, as just mentioned, have expressed an interest in the Mexican perhaps driving for the team in IndyCar, and whilst that is very possible should he not land a seat, I think he's just one of those drivers that teams like Haas and Alfa will be determined to sign if they have positions available. A couple of weeks ago, I was confident or almost determined that Alfa was the most likely destination for him, mainly because it looked like Raikkonen might well be on his way out at the end of 2020, and I felt like Perez was the perfect replacement for him. He is, without doubt, a very quick driver, a very consistent driver, and would bring with him a lot of experience to counter any inexperience an F2 Ferrari graduate would bring if they were promoted to that second seat. However, given the reports I've already mentioned, it's starting to look less likely that that will happen. Essentially, if Kimi stays, Checo won't be racing there next year, as I can't see Ferrari turning down their option on that second seat. That then leaves Haas as the most realistic option. Sure, there are those claims out there that Red Bull are exploring the possibility of signing him, should they choose to replace Alex Albon at the end of 2020, but as tasty as a lineup of Verstappen and Perez will be, I'm really not convinced that there is any truth to that rumour. In fact, as of right now, and based on what Red Bull keeps saying, as well as their apparent lack of options within their own driver programme, my gut is telling me that Albon will stay on for 2021. As I say then, Haas is the most likely and possibly the only available option for Checo if he wants to stay in Formula 1. And do you know what? Perez would be a great fit for Haas as well. He has bags of experience, is quick and consistent, as I've already said, and brings sponsorship money. That's a lot of boxes ticked for a team like Haas. It also means that should they give one of their young reserves or a Ferrari Junior a chance, they, like Alfa, have an experienced driver to lead the team and help a rookie to develop. There is something else I want to mention at this point as well, and that is that Perez has also shown that he is a massively loyal driver, and that is something that Gene Haas and Gunther Steiner seem to like. Think back to all the times they have renewed Grosjean's contract, rewarding loyalty or words to that effect have often been used. Of course, the irony there though is that should they choose to sign Checo, Grosjean, in my opinion anyway, is probably the most likely to make way. I will add on Haas though that it is starting to feel as if they are considering a complete lineup change. They keep talking about the long term, and so signing up a young driver is a real possibility. So whilst Perez may well be taking Grosjean's seat next year, Kevin Magnussen could well find himself out of the team too. And you know, although Perez and, say, a Ferrari Junior is very possible, maybe whoever Alfa don't take, so perhaps Eilert or Schwartzman, I still wouldn't totally rule out the idea of Perez and Hülkenberg reuniting. And I've got to say, that would be a very strong lineup to lead Haas into F1's new era, and one hell of a signal of intent. But anyway, basically, long story short, I reckon we're looking at Perez to Haas for 2021. But what do you guys think? You can, as ever, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section on where you believe Sergio Perez will end up in 2021. That is it for this video though, but don't forget that you can of course follow me over on social media, and all of the links you need for that are in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.